So we have our first CFL draft, Ottawa Redblacks draft preview from Sam Shady Sports. Put this one previewing the CFL's upcoming draft for the Ottawa Redblacks. Remember, May 3rd is the CFL draft at 8 p.m. Hanging out with your boy live on the YouTubes right here. This offseason became apparent that the Ottawa Redblacks, who I'm really interested in seeing this year, coming off a 3-11 season, were all on about the rebuild mode. Not only did they go out and sign veteran quarterback Jeremiah Masoli, who's going to be better, Masoli or quarterback in Hamilton? His name totally escapes me right now. Oh, Dane Evans. Who is it going to be? Who's going to be better? One of these guys is going to bench? We don't know. But they also brought in veteran running back William Powell as well. However, they didn't even remotely stop. They are proving to be one of the most active teams in CFL free agency in 2022. Ottawa began signing the players for the 2022 season, even before the season ended in 2021. They signed Devlin Duck Hodges to play quarterback, hoping to find some semblance of stability at the position back in September of 2021. However, after appearing in a couple of games, the Redblacks has seen enough and knew Hodges wasn't the answer. We all know what happened to him. Guys that were released or retired: Dominic Davis, he wasn't that great. Juwan Bushwell Beatty, I believe he's in the USFL. Natty Rogers, Brad Hamad, Brandon Dandridge, pursuing the NFL. Irvin Phillips, didn't really hear much of him. Kenny Stafford, again, heard a little bit for him, but not really. Devontae Dedman, this is the one that hurts. He signed with the Miami Dolphins. I swore, I was like, dude, this is your best freaking offensive player. Put the ball in his hands 15 times at least. And it was just like for kickoffs. Now he's in the NFL. I can't wait to see what he does for the Miami Dolphins. I hope he tears it up because he's one of our guys, one of our CFL guys. Super excited for him. Hodges, Mott, and Sir Vincent Rogers all retired. Signings, though. This is some great signings. Jeremiah Masoli, a quarterback, William Powell, Jackson Bennett, a running back, DB, Jalen Acklin had a really great season. BJ Cunningham also played well at wide receiver. Levi Noel, didn't really about hear him. Ukambe Williams, Hunter Stewart, Darius Sirocco, Lorenzo Malden, Patrick Levels, Mon Shadrick, Money Hunter, and Tremaine Washington. The addition of the key free agents across the board has allowed the Redblacks to approach the draft with the best player available to strategy. They were able to fill most, if not all, of their needs in free agency by signing a total of 27 players this offseason at all positions all over the roster. 9 of those players are expected to play larger roles on offense, and another 5 on defense are expected to play big roles. That's a significant amount of turnover in one season. Yes, they flipped that roster. And I love the CFL. Don't get me wrong. I love the CFL. The CFL is so funny because there's things I love about it and there's things I hate about it. One of the things is the Redblacks can be terrible one year because, there's only 1 or 2 year contracts. I mean, there's so many people getting signed. It was like hard to keep up, that they could flip the roster so quickly. And it's great because your team can be terrible and you don't have to wait 5 years for them to get good again. That's a positive. The negative is that you got your boys on your team and they jump around and play with 4 or 5 different teams. And you're like, well, this is my favorite player. And he's played with 4 different teams in like 8 years. That's the negative. But, that's kind of how it goes with the CFL. The training camp process will be extremely crucial to get this rebuilt roster on the same page following the draft. With 27 players added by a free agent, the roster's over half full with no prior experience as a team together and haven't gotten in the draft process. Yes. So the Redblacks have the opportunity to select a total of 3 global draft selections slated at 8th, 11th, and 26th. And the 3-round drafts that pairs Mexican and European players we all know about that. In the CFL National Draft, the Redblacks hold 9 selections, including the 2nd overall pick in all 8 rounds, and an extra pick in round 3, 20th overall. This gives them 4 selections in the top 22 selections, further giving them ammunition to shore up their roster that had too many issues to count in 2021. Interesting players to watch in the draft process: Trey Ford. We've heard all about him. Whether or not he gets picked up afterwards and on an NFL squad, it remains to be seen. but Canadian, we all know about him. This could prompt the team to take their chance on selecting him with their first overall selection. He does have the potential to be in part of the NFL draft, though we're starting to hear that maybe that might not happen, that it looks more like Trey Ford would be somebody selected maybe after, for a camp or something like that. Ottawa could look at this option for holding 3 picks in the first 2 rounds and have cemented their roster with a veteran at every position. With Masoli on board, several young backup quarterbacks might look like a position of luxury, but Masoli is 33. And the CFL is known for its short-term contracts we just talked about. There's a good chance in 2 seasons Masoli is gone, whether it be retirement or free agency. Once again, drafting a transcendent player like Ford in the first round could make some sense for Ottawa that needs a future at the position, and it doesn't appear they are sold on Tari Adams, Tryon Christian, and last year's starter Caleb Evans yet. Selecting Ford, the Niagara Falls, Ontario native, would be a win for the Ottawa team. Yeah. I think this is the problem with the CFL is they just need homegrown stars. They don't need American stars. They just need homegrown stars people get excited about, and Trey Ford is certainly one. Jesse Lucetta, everybody thinks he's going to be the first round pick, the first overall pick. If they choose to pass it, there's a couple of players that might make sense. The first player is Jesse Lucetta, Ottawa native, who likely endearing him to fans immediately, but for all the player movements this offseason for Ottawa, linebacker, it's a position that they didn't seem to address in free agency, instead choosing to focus on offensive help and focusing on the defensive line. That makes Lucetta a perfect pick in round 1. Bring home the Ottawa natives, shore up the linebacking core, and add a guy who can be with the team for years to come. Might even be a guy who can impact the team right away as a rookie, depending on that. If he drops to the second pick in the draft, he's getting taken. He's getting taken. And Terrell Richards, linebacker, DB. Richards is a player expected all 9 teams to target to some degree. He might be the best player on the board that is expected to play in the CFL most of his career. Despite showcasing otherworldly versatility by lining up as linebacker, defensive lineman, defensive back in college, I don't expect the NFL to select him in their draft, allowing the CFL to focus on him as the best player in their draft process. Richards was not his top pick here because of the ties to Lucetta has to Ottawa and how popular the pick would be for the team, but also doesn't necessarily believe Richards falls past the top overall. So, if he does, it makes this draft extremely interesting for the Redbacks. Noah Zera, offensive lineman, following in his father's footsteps, solid offensive lineman. I am always for offensive linemen in the first round because they are really, aside from a star quarterback, they are the most important position in my. Zera was once ranked the 20th overall draft prospect, attended the University of Saskatchewan, so it could be that the Rough Riders are the team that overvalues him due to his local ties. However, this isn't the case. The Redblacks would be smart at adding a young lineman to shore up a position following an offseason that saw the same time. The team signed 4 veteran linemen to help solidify an offensive line that didn't live up to expectations in 2021. Tyson and Jalen Philpott at wide receiver. I wouldn't go there. They signed some wide receivers, though they could be something that they would want to. Are you going to pick those guys with the second pick in the draft? I don't think so. But we'll see if the twin brothers, Jalen and Tyson Philpott, could probably be there. Daniel Boye, running back, versatile running back. We've heard his name out there. He's a good pass catcher during his college career. He managed 115 carries twice. Every season, the Redblacks brought in aging veteran William Powell and Jackson Bennett, also a veteran, while making a solid backfield. Adding more youth could be something to improve as a player during his redshirt year behind veterans in the CFL. So you got the global draft players. We'll see how that all shakes out. But some global draft guys, he's got names out there. Otavio Amorim, the Elfs Berlin Thunder, a Brazilian native, attempted to make the leap to the NFL back in 2020 when he tried out for the NFL International Pathways program, but ultimately didn't make the cut. Went up in the ELF, playing for the Berlin Thunder. We cover the ELF and our CFL News Hub. Finds himself attempted to parlay his Elf experience into a selection of the global draft. 6'2", 43 pounds, and managed 21 reps in the bench press and good cone drill. Garrett Brandt of the GFL's New Yorker Lions, and Salvador Cabrera, DB from the LFA. Bottom line, the Red Blacks put themselves in an enviable position by allowing themselves freedom in the draft process to select whoever they see helping their team long term. In a draft that often sees players spend a year on the roster learning their way before they make an impact, Ottawa seems poised to keep their roster competitive for years to come. With the second overall pick, all eyes will be on the Red Blacks shortly after the draft kicks off. What do you think? Who do you think the Red Blacks are going to take? I'm saying I would go linebacker, or do you go for Trey Ford? Big name out there. We'll find out May 3rd.